Welcome everyone to the second AMA. I'm really excited to get this started. We've got so much to talk about. There's been a lot happening over the last few weeks. So I'm happy to share all of that with you. To begin with, just to give you like the structure of how it's going to work, we're going to start with an introduction with Rob, who's a member on the core team. And we're just going to, he's going to introduce himself, what he does, and I'll ask him a couple of questions just to learn a bit more about him. And then Rob has kindly agreed to, to stay the duration of the call so we can have more of a interactive conversation about the recent developments, so you can, get some of his opinions as well about what's happening. We will be talking about, there was the recent community call where we announced a lot of developments in that. And then we'll also be talking about the DAO updates, which was a recent newsletter that went out, I think last Thursday or Friday. And then we've also got, there's also a recent Galxe OAT campaign, and it's been amazing how well that's done considering that was our first one. So we're really excited to share those statistics as well with you. Right, let's begin then. So let's talk with Robert, learn a bit more about him, and then we'll go from there. So you want to introduce yourself, Robert?
Yeah, thank you very much. What's up, everyone? It's nice to see a lot of faces. My name is Robert, and I live here in South Africa. Been working part of the SSV project now for about a year, just over a year now. It's been very, very exciting. Lots of cool things. So what I do is I am the content writer for SSV. So lots of the blog posts you see, newsletters, stuff like that, working with, co-marketing, co-writing things, and also some of the documentation. One of the biggest accolades, I'd say, is contributing a big part of the DVT page that's up on ethereum.org. It's been very cool. Was able to work with our product manager and people there to kind of give everyone a overview of DVT. So if you haven't checked it, check that out. I think it's pretty cool. And things have changed quite a lot since I started working. I think when I started working, we were just releasing Shifu v2. We're integrating the token. The test. I was all TSSV at that stage. But yeah, we've made major strides. The team has done a really good job of improving the protocol, making it user-friendly, and trying to set us up for our vision, which is essentially trying to get all the staked ETH through DVT. And like Alon has said many times before, one of the best ways to do that is through developers. Having people use SSV, build a myriad of different applications and solutions for staking, so everyone can just start kind of linking, getting these more off ramps onto DVT, which I think is super important. So yeah, I do a lot of the content. I love working with the product team and with R&D and understanding the tech. It's been really cool. So
Awesome.
yeah, I think
you covered most of my questions there as well. But no, that's awesome though, man. It's nice to hear. I'm as people know, I'm quite new. I've been here for about 2 months now, so it's nice hearing as well, like some of the history, how things have been changing, and because I know that this has been like 2 to 3 years in the making, right, to get to this point where we are now. So,
sure.
but what would you say are some of the key things then, like behind the scenes that we might not have seen that have led to this point where we are now?
Interesting. I'd say a lot of R&D and a lot of improving things in terms of the user experience. I think having the web app created better, improving the smart contracts. I think V3, one of the big things there was scaling. Being able to have like a staking protocol that may want to register 100 or maybe 1,000 validators, making that cheaper, because one of the things that sets us apart is doing on-chain registration, which obviously has a gas cost, and making the contracts more safe and creating the protocol so we can scale it and have lots more people participate, I think has been one of the really cool things. Yeah, I think for
That's
sure. I
awesome
think in
stuff.
terms of user
Yeah.
experience, very,
hmm
very better.
So how about from like the team perspective? Because you said you've been here what, over a year, 1 or 2 years. So how have you seen things change in that kind of dynamic, like in the core team?
Mm. I think it's a pretty good question. I think the team has grown um, by a few people since I started working, getting some extra devs, getting some extra people in the marketing team to, kind of increase the complexity of our marketing efforts and also just the volume
hmm
of it.
Yeah,
Um,
this is all I've seen
and
like
what
since I've
about,
joined. Just new people joining all the time. It's
for
awesome.
sure.
And then, with the recent the DAO proposals as well that we're going to mention, we've got some people who
Yeah,
have extended or taken on new roles as well in the DAO. So it's everywhere is like just ramping up. It's awesome.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I mean, getting Marco and a DAO evangelist, people that are really good at, working on integrations, people that are really good at building tutorials so that other people know how to use the tech, um, has been instrumental, I think,
hmm
and in the last 3 months, I think we had like extra 15 grantees get approved. So I mean, that's wild, just getting more teams into SSV, having them build using the infra.
hmm
That's pretty awesome.
I think that's the true power of what we're creating is that it's not just about what the core team or what we're all doing, but it's getting all the builders on board, right? To build a whole ecosystem. That's how
For
things are
sure.
really going to take off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. How about just on a personal note? What are some of your interests, or how do you like to relax?
Um, well, being in South Africa, we've got lots of nature. So I myself like going out on hikes.
hmm
Just being out there. We have some amazing places just, 3-4 hours drive from where I live. So, I mean, hiking the Blyde River Canyon, doing camping and being outside is very nice. But yeah, I mean, on the other side, I also love spending time with my friends and, going to music
hmm
festivals, all sorts of music. Oh, just, living. It's
Yeah.
one of the major
I'm,
things.
I'm just thinking like Blood River Canyon. That sounds like the sort of place you go to but don't come back. It's like,
That's
I
hilarious.
will
No,
never survive that.
Blyde River Canyon. But yeah, it could have been. It was like a, hectic, well, not hectic, but like a 3-day walk. And
hmm
it's a good one.
Yeah. Okay then. Shall we
Mm,
talk a bit about the community call then?
for
So
sure.
again, just highlights. I mean, I've noted down a lot of the key points, but we'll just try to keep it general. But I started off giving a bit of a speech, about how we've gone from where we were to where we are now. It's been, a few years in the making, but this whole launch is going to be split down into several stages, and that's because we want to really just carefully plan this. We want to each stage we want to gradually build, get, how can I say, expand things and gradually release it to the public, thoroughly
Mhm.
testing it, and that, yeah. So that was
Yeah,
like my first few points about it. But instead of seeing this as like suddenly everything's going live, this is more of like the first step into this
exactly.
journey of this moving forward. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's important to do it in phases as well because there are different parts, like moving parts and players. So it becomes quite complex at the end of the day. So the way to make it, not like you said, everything all at once.
hmm
We start testing with the core team, after X amount of time, and we're sure everything is fine. We're using our own ETH, and then we can bring on the next phase, and we can start working
hmm
on the next phase. So as soon as we have, as soon as we're sure the operators are ready and everything's working smoothly, we can bring in like the next part of it, which would be the launch partners, staking
hmm
applications, people using them. And I mean, eventually the goal of this whole situation is to have the permissionless launch. Like that is the idea of SSV, an open protocol, anyone can use it. But we have to make sure that these things are all working
hmm
before we release it to the public. That's why we're working with these professionals to, who've been with us forever. Well, not forever, but you know what I'm saying.
hmm
Like they've been with us for a very long time. They've been testing the tech. They know what are the optimal setups. And as we kind of iron out those last few things and we can release it to the public, then yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
that's
that's the
it.
whole idea. So everyone can use
So
it. If you're a staker, a
yeah,
builder, go for it.
so we've broken this down into several stages. We've got We're currently now in the pre-launch phase. In this phase, we've got the operators and the validators and the ETH at stake. It's all by the core team. And then we're planning to move to the limited launch phase, which is expected to be in August. And that's when we get the mainnet verified operators to take on the operational, managing that side of things. And then the validators and ETH at stake is still the core team. Then we go to the launch phase, and that's when we take on I think it's 9 launch partners that we're expecting. So gradually, stage by stage, it's getting more people involved until we reach the permissionless stage, which is expected in November. And that's when anyone, you can stake, you can be an operator, you can do all that good stuff. So, again, these different stages, but we're not talking about a long time. I mean, the next stage is next month? Launch stage is expected to be September, October. Then the permissionless will be in November, where everything is open. So,
right.
really,
That's
really not
where it
long.
started then,
Yeah,
As
and
soon as the
we're feeling it in
permissions
the
is
team.
live, then everything only
Yeah.
starts then. I mean, then people start using the protocol. Then, you have your builders. I mean, like you said, we have 9 launch partners, and we have like 30 plus grantees. So, I mean, as we start rolling out and as the network goes live, just more of those things, more of those applications will go live as time continues. And, there are lots of incentives for people to build. I mean, the grants program isn't done. We still have the Eco Fund, which has which was run by some of the biggest names in the industry. And I mean, from there on, hackathons, on and offline events, I just see SSV becoming the base layer of all of these applications and people just using DVT. And then, at the end of the day, what we all really want is a really robust and stable Ethereum.
Yeah, definitely. Really important points you mentioned there. I think also from like the marketing side, like you're touching on, Adam gave a talk, and he was talking about how we're planning to share SSV with the world, right? Like what are we doing to open things up to everyone and to be as transparent as possible? So we talked about the community course, these AMAs. We're working on the stats and analytics that we want to be sharing as well. And for Adam, he always talks about like his strategies: transparency, activation, growth. Always these 3 things. And but these are really good focus points. Like how can we make things more transparent, open things up to everyone? And that's why we're holding these now each week. Just want to engage as much as possible with everyone. So we can get everything, everyone on board and share as much as possible.
Exactly, 100%.
Okay. I think Alon also talked a bit about how he's focusing on what was it? How SSV network is, the way it works is that it's easy and composable, it's scalable, decentralized, community owned, right? And the general mission now is to transition builders over to DVT. So that's again like when we're talking about the ecosystem. I mean, we're doing what we can to build what we can, but we're focusing on building the ecosystem and getting everyone on board, and that's where the true growth is going to be at.
For sure. Essentially, the idea, I guess, at the end of the day, I mean, be it in 2 years' time or whatever amount of time, the end goal is to, give the protocol to the people, to everyone to use. I mean, and that's why it's so important for people to take part in the DAO and, in proposals and voting and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, the DAO is going to be the head of SSV. It's going to be at the helm, and everyone part of the community is going to be steering the way that we move forward. So yeah, I think like you said, transparency in that regard is super important, and also having people realize what we're doing and how they can participate. Like this AMA is a very good example. People that have questions, we can answer them. And
I've noticed
making
Azar wants to speak. Can I get Azar on? Let me find Azar. Sorry, carry on, Robert. I'm just going to try and add this person so they can
no worries.
speak up.
I can see a thing here.
I think I've got it.
Are we?
Hello, Azar. I think I've invited you to speak. You're still there? I don't know if Azar's still here. Let's see. Oh, Azar's there. I've invited that Azar to speak. Hopefully, you can come up. Sorry, Robert. I interrupted you. Do you want to
No
continue
worries,
what
no
you're
worries.
saying?
No, well, I was just making space for another homie. But
Okay.
then what's going on
So yeah,
there?
I mean, everyone, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask anytime. You can write them in the chat. You can also raise your hand to speak, and I'll do my best to get you up here or to give you a chance to share your points of view. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'd like to say is one of the important things that we've started doing now in terms of getting more people involved in the DAO decisions and stuff like that is we've started batching proposals. And
Mm-hmm.
every 3-4 weeks we plan on releasing proposals. Like usually what we used to do is like someone would write the proposal, we'd release them, and people would kind of discuss it, kind of as they come along. But now we're creating more of a dedicated time to talk about those things. So when we release the batches, we'll have an AMA and
Mm-hmm.
we'll discuss each of the votes, what they're about. People can ask questions, we can answer these questions. And yeah, I mean, hopefully people start realizing that this is a really good way to, you know, participate in the DAO, or at the very least know what's happening inside the DAO, what's happening at the SSV network, and important things like that.
Awesome. Cool stuff. Let's move on then to the DAO updates. There are a lot of points in that as well, weren't there? So, I mean, there's different sections like we mentioned about the mainnet launch,
Mhm.
which was official the other day. At the team, we all had like a team eat together, to celebrate.
Yeah,
Had some pizza, had some kebab and
party.
I had kebab and chips, and yeah, it was really nice. It's to hang out with people and just to see this going live. It was wonderful.
Yeah, celebrate this amazing milestone.
hmm So I
Yeah,
think
some
I
of the other
touched
things.
on what. Yeah, sorry.
No, no, continue.
I was just saying, like some of the key points of that, what we've already mentioned about in the pre-launch phase. This is very core managed in terms of the validators and operators. But yeah, the next section was what the growth of the ecosystem. Do you want to
hmm
touch on that, Robert?
Yeah, I think, well, we've already said quite a lot about it,
Mm-hmm.
about the amount of grantees that we have now, that there's a bunch, the launch partners that have kind of, dedicated to be ready as soon as we are. So, when we launch, they're going to launch alongside us, and in the launch phase, these projects will be, responsible for a lot of the ETH that's coming in. People will be staking through the launch partners. Um, and yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like from that perspective, there are so many. I mean, anyone can go look. If you go on the website, you go to grants. Anyone
Mm-hmm.
can see the many different things that people are building. Using our infrastructure, and you can go have a look at the proposals. You see what they're building. Maybe if you're a builder yourself, you can go see, get some ideas. And I mean, the process is, reasonably painless. You submit your proposal, we have a committee that reviews it, and I mean, pretty much that. And then you get to building, and I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I know because I've
just,
been sitting on the committee. I'm not an official member, but I've been there just, in terms of seeing what's happening in the ecosystem. And I can see, everyone wants to, they want to support every application, because we, want to support everyone. At the same time, we know we've got limited funds, right? So it's just getting that balance. Like, we want to support everyone as much as possible, while also thinking of, supporting the ecosystem as best as we can. I think also there's a key point that haven't mentioned yet, and that is this idea of SSV being like a zero coordination DVT network.
mhm,
So this, I mean, if I'm not going to mention any competitors, but there are some where you can set up with DVT, but then you've got to go out and sort these agreements with different operators. There's a lot of hassle involved, and I think that's another key benefit of SSV, where you can just set up, you can select your operator cluster, and boom, you're done. Everything's set up. I did it myself, and I'd never staked before. When I first joined, just as like an onboarding process, and it took me like 20 minutes. So it's
mhm,
really simple to get started, really simple to get going. And I think this also is going to help lead to a surge of creators and staking applications getting on board, simply because it's so simple, right? You can
mhm,
yeah.
for
So
sure.
that's
I think,
another key benefit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big things when SSV was starting to be as it started out was the fact that we create this as a network, and it takes time to do something that complex, but the end result is that you have, like you said, zero coordination,
Mhm.
and that is something I personally think is very valuable. Where people can just have the option to customize, if anything happens. Yeah, it's a very cool function, I think, of the network, of the protocol.
Definitely. Yeah. So another point then. So you touched on some of the grants proposals. I've got some of the stats here, so I can mention them. So
Mm,
in terms of the grant stats, we've got 33 grants that have been approved so far, which is worth around $1.9 million. We've got 15 grants in review, which is worth 1.3 million. And then we've got 10 that are pending review, worth around 1 million. So I think, yeah, we've got some that we're reviewing right now. The committee's checking, and then there'll be some after that as well. So it's just ongoing, always reviewing these things and moving forward. But we've had a lot of have been approved so far, and they're really promising. I've
mm,
read some of these proposals. I don't know if I could mention one, but one I found was quite exciting. Was like a minimum. What was it like? Minimum sort of wage, sort of universal income, universal wage, or minimum income. It's something like that, right? And I thought that sounds like really promising, especially for like maybe third world countries where the income's
mm.
quite low, and you can have something like this where people are just going to receive an ongoing, maybe a small amount of ETH, but to them that's the difference between starving and having a meal for the day, right?
For
Universal
sure.
basic income, I think it was. That's it. Yeah,
That's the one. That's the one.
really, yeah, really interesting stuff. So it's great to be supporting projects like that. And I think if
Mm,
if you guys have any ideas, anything that you think you could propose, then definitely put something together and reach out to us, because we're open. We want to support you and build these exciting projects.
mm. I think that UBI, the Universal Basic Income solution, actually came from our hackathon that we hosted in Denver. There's a
Hmm.
few interesting things coming there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but
So
next,
we
I
had
think on that
yes,
note,
sorry.
sorry, on that
Carry on.
note,
Hmm.
we are having some events this month. I think
Hmm.
we're doing ETHCC in ETH Barcelona, and yeah, we might be hosting some side events. We might be doing some hackathons. We'll definitely keep the community updated about all of that stuff as well. But yeah, events are a
Definitely.
big
I think Marco in Ether's going to one in ETHCC, I think. So if you guys are going, then definitely either you can reach out to Marco in Ether or reach out to me, and then we'll see about setting up arrangements so we can all meet up there.
thing.
Yeah. I think there I saw one about staking soiree. Is that another one?
Hmm. We'll have to double check.
Because I noticed there was East Barcelona, ETHCC, and then the
Yes.
staking soiree, unless that's the previous one.
No, that's
Is that a
correct,
previous
actually.
one?
Yeah. No, staking soiree is happening this month. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, in a week or two. I think Alon will be on stage there as well. So, for anyone that really wants to hear some really cool insights about someone that's been in the space for very long, it's always cool to listen to him and to hear his thoughts of the future and kind of where DVT's place is and where SSV's place is, and yeah, just like kind of the future of the staking industry. Um, he
I think he was just
usually
speaking today as well, no? Eve Barcelona, something he shared it earlier that he's speaking live today. Is that Eve Barcelona today? I think that might be the one. No? He's speaking all the time, right? It's like every other day he's speaking at a different event.
yeah, man,
But yeah,
definitely.
I agree. He's amazing to listen to. It's really inspiring, and it's great, like hearing his vision of SSV as well as DVT and in general as a whole. It's great to
Yeah,
listen to.
ETH Barcelona, correct.
Yeah, I'll
Doing a
share that
live
link
show.
later, so everyone can check it out, because I want to watch it as well. I haven't had a chance yet, and it was being streamed live on YouTube. So yeah, definitely check that out. Another one then, the Galxe OAT campaign.
Mm,
Do you want to
that went
introduce
really
that? Because
well.
I've got some of the stats, but if you let us, give like the background to that, why we went with Galaxy, and then
No,
I'll fill in
please
the
go for it.
details.
Feel if you got the stats, go.
Yeah. Okay. So we decided to run with a Galxe OAT campaign. We wanted to, invite people to come to check out the video on YouTube. Build some engagement there, as well as checking out our tweets. And again, it's just we want to raise as much awareness as possible so that people can learn about what we're up to and spread the word, basically. So we went with Galxe, and we got a lot of good results. Really surprising, I think, considering it was the first one. So we've had so far over 3,000 Galxe OAT mints. The video so far on YouTube has had over 2,900 views, and the tweets and retweets we had over 2,700 of that as well. So obviously, yeah, we're looking to do more of this going forward. It seems to be very successful. I think Galxe, I mean, the community must also be very popular. So it's an awesome campaign, basically. And we're going to have more opportunities for people going forward to mint these as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Anything you want to
cool.
add, Robert?
You get people to participate, and I think one of the nice things about it as well is that, people can collect these oats and, down the line, we can do some really cool community events. People that have participated in X things will get X, maybe we have like a cool SSV meetup somewhere. Well, I mean, anyone's always welcome to join, but definitely there's like such a wide variety of things that one can do with the
Yeah,
oats. If you collect them, you're just becoming deeply entrenched in the SSV ecosystem and community, which is,
definitely.
why we're here.
And things are very early still, right, for us. So we're always looking at new ways of, building engagement or doing things like this. So that's why, yeah, like you say, the possibilities right now are really open to us how we utilize these things. But we could be looking at things like that, like, if you've got a Galxe OAT, maybe there's certain opportunities there for people to get more involved in things or, different activities. So yeah, it's definitely worth getting these going forward and collecting them. And yeah, awesome stuff.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
let me just remind people then. So if anybody, do you have any questions either for me, for Robert, or about anything in general? I mean,
Or the DAO or whatever.
I think there's one I can see here from Daniel Hill. Says, do protocol fees lead to increased costs?
Costs in which way? So there is a network fee, and as soon as everyone starts using the protocol, whether you're using it through a staking partner, or if you're just putting your validator straight onto SSV on your own, then yeah, you'll be paying your operators in SSV, and a part of that cost will be the network fee. So, as more and more people use the network, the network fee continues getting generated, and we use that network fee for grants programs, paying for certain things, going to events. At the end of the day, the DAO is the SSV DAO is the entity that is helping to govern, and you know that sort of governance needs to be funded. So I mean, there's lots of things to be spending on, funding grants, going to events, um, paying maybe a team to start building a second SSV node. Like the possibilities are endless, but that's the whole point of the network fee, is to kind of help grow the ecosystem that we have, but keeping basically as a self-sustaining system.
Yeah, awesome stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay then. I don't see any hands raised to speak. That's enough questions. Just one mention then that for this AMA, well, we're going to continue with this now on Thursdays. So the same time now on Thursdays. We'll continue from there. Okay. So
Cool.
then, I'd like to thank all of you for attending, for listening. It's, really exciting times for us, and I'll see you all again next week.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. It's been fun.
Thank you all.
And thank you too, good sir, in the
You
chat.
too. Thanks for coming.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.